Hi, called Pun Piso here. Brain is creating a lot of thoughts. We know that we create, of course, thoughts, the mind, with our brains. In ancient times, they didn't know that. Today we do, and it is a fact. As well as there's always religious beliefs, a belief in God, which in my view is a psychosis. It's an acceptance of imaginary friends and delusions as if they were reality. Today, science tells us many, many things.
Into a distant past has driven us for thousands of years to ask one of the greatest questions of humanity. When did time itself be? In the 17th century, an archbishop from Dublin decided to find out with the Old Testament.
All Usher really had to do was add up the various ages of the patriarchs, because the Bible tells us what age each person was when his son was born. So, for example, Genesis 5 tells us that Adam was 130 years old when his son Seth was born.
This idiot.
James Usher had established the very moment of God's creation.
Man was christ-psychotic.
Our place was at the center of the universe, the earth created for our purpose.
Yeah, look at the delusional idiots.
The earth and time itself were 6,000 years old.
The psychosis of religious beliefs, believing God, has always been a drag on the intellect, impeding observation and science. In ancient times, the penis and vagina were the created gods in the stars. This is a symbol of holding the sacred giver of life, the penis. Many do not realize what the ancient symbol is. Also the Hela, which is the sun. Here is on the font of Pompeii. Here is the mandorla, which is the equivalent to the lady's vagina. And Christ is inside. And here is the actual birth.
Virtually every culture developed its own dramatic story of creation.
And all from Egypt, right there. Very good. Very good.
Why has the beginning of time captured the imagination?
Well, because, you know, you don't know. You don't know. When you're born, you have no idea. 5,000 years ago, everything is a mystery.
All the matter in the cosmos was created when the universe was born, 13.7 billion years ago. A single atom has been created nor destroyed. They've all just been quietly combining and recombining in an endless cycle of creation.
Yeah, there's no God.
At some point in the far distant past, we were dealt a pretty good hand when an ancient star died a spectacular death and seeded our little corner of the galaxy with everything we'd ever needed. All the raw materials, all the iron, carbon, calcium, oxygen, and other elements that would billions of years later lead to this. Life.
The interesting thing is evolution in our oranges are proven by the founding of DNA, the helix, in 1953 by Crick.
Of star stuff, the debris of exploding stars that manufactured the atoms of which were composed.
All recycled atoms. It's absolutely true.
Over 2,300 years ago, the Greeks had already, the scientists, by observation, learned about the atoms, the smallest particle. A lot of things come from the Greek words. The Epicureans, ancient atheists or mentally healthy, knew there was no God. God dies was an invention. Of course, they didn't know about the brain being in this location, but they assumed it.
We see the same kind of recycling here on Earth. The atoms that form the planet have been reused to create and sustain every organism that ever lived.
In atoms, really what you're drinking is the remnants of a star explosion. And of course, since those oxygen atoms came to Earth, they've been recycled a good deal too. So you're also drinking bits of dinosaurs and bits of all the famous people you've ever heard of.
Trillions of atoms enter your lungs. These atoms have been mixed throughout the Earth's atmosphere over
Spirit
time,
world.
the same nitrogen and oxygen atoms that were there. So each time you breathe in, you're breathing in a couple atoms that Galileo breathed out, or that Copernicus breathed out, or that Socrates breathed out 500 or 2,000 years ago.
That's the reason birds were sacred and viewed as souls. They floated in the spirit world. which was nothing
When
but
trillions of atoms in us began their journey inside a star. Since then, they've made countless stops in mountains and rivers, in trees and blades of grass, in molds and mushrooms, in deer, daffodils, and dinosaurs.
Cyanobacteria stromatolites began to produce oxygen, and then life began to evolve. Unfortunately, Christians and other deluded folks are stuck with the intelligent designer nonsense.
You needed your cyanobacteria to sort of crank on the oxygen, get the oxygen budget going. Then you could have that's sort of rocket fuel for multicellular creatures. But that's hardly an efficient. I don't even include here the expression of free will where people want to kill each other. I'm talking about nature killing us without the help of human beings.
Over 40,000 years ago, we began to create the supernatural and God by ingesting entheogens.
In the Aztec civilization, magic mushrooms were center stage at many religious or healing ceremonies.
However, in the last 15 years or so, it's been possible to get approval to conduct careful, safe, tightly controlled, structured studies.
This includes no longer taking psilocybin directly from mushrooms, but synthesizing it and federally
all of this, and we so much praise about the human eye, but anyone who's seen the full breadth of the electromagnetic spectrum will recognize how blind we are. Okay, and part of that blindness means we can't see, we can't detect magnetic fields, ionizing radiation, radon.
Deluded,
we are
psychotic religious folks do not stuck in the past, do not realize that we create God and all kind of thinking, and we can technology advance because of our brains. We can control it. In this case, we can actually manipulate the brain to make a woman see. No with prayers. No with prayers.
They have inserted a chip into a human brain to pick up signals from carefully selected areas.
They should try that on the christ-psychotics and see what happened to the Christians. They'll see God instantly.
The brain gate system.
We create God with our brains. We create everything.
A sensor smaller than a contact lens is inserted into the motor center of the brain.
See, if she was praying, she won't be able to do anything. She'll be in the dark ages.
I like to see christ-psychotics and other religious folks explain birth defects. This genetic malfunctions, mutations, proving evolution.
And with the birth defects, most are unknown. Look at this. Others, it's like abuse and infection and stuff that human beings have something to do with. His, we have no idea. Oops, I pushed the button by accident, sorry. Tragic, particularly if they happen to the family afflicted by it. And you just look at images of these aborted fetuses because of the, and most of these are stillborn, others are born with the heart outside the body. And so, this is all simply stupid design. And the problem is, if you look for what is intelligent, and you can find some things that are just really beautiful, and really, hey, that's clever. The ball socket of the...
In ancient times, people with genetic defects were either killed or worshipped as gods.
A living god, because believe it or not, Babaji was born with a tail.
40 साल हो गए हम इसी काम को करते थे मतलब हमने तृष्णा देखा है
When he was born in this small village in India, people took one look at the tail-like growth at the base of Babaji's spine and proclaimed him the living reincarnation.
There is no God. We create God with our brains. The universe is outside of the stars or inside in our brain.
Combined with something else. That's how it's been since the beginning.
Exactly.
A continual process of creation and recreation.
Yeah, and no God needed. Yeah, and no God needed.
The universe is a place dominated by extreme sizes. And while it seems the massive and the minute are separated by unimaginable differences, they're actually more similar than you may think.
Something I find intriguing as a scientist is that the structure of the very, very large looks very much like the structure of the very, very small.
Exactly. Look at our brains.
Inside those atoms, they begin to look a bit like the universe.
Yeah. We have the universe within, inside our brains.
So Christians and other deluded folks stuck in the Middle Ages. Please, we create everything with the brain. Get educated. Join us in the 21st century. A brain is an awful thing to waste. Pace de oro.